program very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. This is a topic of my passion, so I put my heart into preparing for this. And a lot of people in the audience I know, the few I don't, now I know. So we're all a small, cozy family here. And feel free to jump in. Feel free to jump in and give me your feedback. The questions at the end, as Sanhiji said. So my topic, I've changed it just a slight bit. Stress management, the scientific and spiritual perspectives. I wanted to create a toolbox. There are plenty of tips. If you Google or Reader's Digest, every other magazine has tips on how to manage stress. But what I wanted to do was bring the scientific and the spiritual perspectives together and lay a foundation as to why. I mean, I'm sure everybody in the audience knows about yoga and pranayama and meditation and how they're good for managing stress. But I'll take the next 15, 20 minutes to lay the foundation for why they're good. And once, I hope that I'll be able to inspire every one of you to put away some time in your day to practice whatever you choose to pick from that list or your own, but to pick some of these and start practicing every day. That's the goal of my talk. So, next one. So the very first thing I want to say is all of us, I don't really need to give introduction about stress or spirituality to anybody in this room, but if we want to learn something new, we have to empty our concepts first. So if we are full of concepts, nothing will go in. So I request that we move from that frame to this frame. Next one. So what is stress, right? So we're constantly bombarded by all this information that comes into our system through all our sense organs. So it's basically, who am I? How do I interact with my surroundings? And that's all stress is, because some people seem to be calm, nothing seems to touch them, same situations. Other people are always constantly working on the edge of stuff. What is it that makes the difference? I believe it's the mind. It's our mind that is the seat of stress. So let's explore this a little further. Next. Okay, so here it is. This is the stress cycle that I've realized. So we have the substrate or the personality, us, right? And then we're interacting with our environment, the stressors. We have relationships, finances, health, you can add any number. So that's the interaction that's happening constantly. Now, that leads to behavior, right? We are either accepting, engaging, responsive to our environment, in which case the outcomes tend to be positive. You have benefits and rewards, so you're working on the left side of that stress curve. You're kind of calm, everything seems to fall in place. That's a virtuous cycle, right? And then that's a success story. And the lucky ones seem to be always acting in this cycle, right? So let's go to the next one. So then you have the opposite cycle. The same person, stresses perhaps are now higher, relations are not working well, financial hardships, health is not well, or it could be a different person and the same set of situation, but now it's overwhelming. So now the pattern changes. The behavior coming out will be kind of resisting, reactive, stressful, and as it gets very overwhelming, people start disengaging. They're not engaged anymore. They want to avoidance, withdrawal. And then once that happens, almost always the outcomes are negative. They're not what you want. So nothing seems to work. These are the type of people, they can come into golden situations and they touch it, and it seems to go the other way. It's not the Midas touch, whatever the opposite of that is. So these are the people who are constantly working on the left-hand side of that curve, in the distressed part. So, you can change. For the same person, if the amount of stress goes up, they can fall into the cycle, or you can have some people who can't seem to handle any stress and are falling in this category. So let's go to the next one. So this is where I want to pause, because I had an inherent interest, like I said, about just observing people, situations around me, and I've kind of figured this out. Some people, no matter what they do, things seem to work out, and others, poor thing, no matter how hard they work, nothing seems to work, right? And then suddenly, the question came to me, it's not just about other people. Even within myself, there are traits which, it sounds like, when it comes to studying or getting tasks done, no matter what I do, things seem to work out. And then there are other areas in my life where no matter how hard I work, things just don't seem to work. So there are certain traits and patterns that are inherent that seem to work in certain ways and others not. So what makes you fall? What creates these cycles? How do we break them? Can we move from the vicious cycle to the virtuous cycle? So that's how the questioning started for me. And that's how my journey continued. But also I'd like to pause here and then tell you all the story of Three Little Pigs. You all heard the story of Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf? Yeah? Yeah. How many of you have heard the wolf's version of the story? Have you? Anybody? Nobody? I'm surprised. It's a very common story in the management circles. So let me tell you the Big Bad Wolf's version of it. So the Big Bad Wolf says, really, everybody paints me to the Big Bad Wolf. It's nothing to do with that. It has to do with a cup of sugar and my grandmother's birthday cake. So I started baking the cake for my granny because it was her birthday. And I ran out of sugar. So I decided to go down the road and borrow a cup of sugar from the first house I came across. Now, this pig must be really stupid. It built a house out of straw. And I went and knocked at the door and said, whatever I said, and asked for it. The whole house fell down. And then I started sneezing. So the whole house fell down. There it was, the pig dead on the middle of the house. And I couldn't let go of a good dinner, ham dinner, so I ate it up. And then I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I walked down the street and found the second house. And the second house was the brother of this little pig, and it wasn't much smarter. It built its house with twigs, and the story goes on. So it's all the pig's fault. And here it is, the reporters were there, and they didn't think this story was, interesting enough, so they made it out to be the Big Bad Wolf. So that's the version that you guys hear. This is my version. So the reason I tell this story is to emphasize the point that everybody has a story. So every side of every situation, it can be built in different ways, right? So when we get into stress, the virtuous cycles, the vicious cycles, we get stuck with our story, and it stops our ability from seeing the other versions of it. So that ties in here, and we'll move on and come back to that. So these are the scientific perspectives, right? So how does stress happen? From an evolutionary standpoint, it starts out as this flight and fight response. In the past, it was a real physical danger, but in the current day, it has to do with our dislikes, perceived psychological danger, which is really what it is. We feel threatened from the boss, from the mother-in-law, from whatever it is, the external source. And it's usually long-term, it's not short-term like in the past when the tiger went away, the danger went away, and all our systems settled down. Now it's long-term. And this leads to passive aggression, the flight and fight response. So that's a source of stress. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah. And then the other opposites of that are the pleasure circuits. So the circuits that drive our behavior towards activities that we like. For people who are prone to addiction, they need a lot more stimulus to get the same amount of pleasure. So that's the reason they keep going after it, whether it's eating or learning, or apparently for some people it's paying taxes, generosity, whatever it is. Now, when we don't get what we want, that leads to stress as well. But these are the basic evolutionary patterns which created the flight and fright and the pleasure circuits. Let's move on to the next one. Now, slightly a higher level of those are the basic circuits at the reptilian brain, very unevolved level, right? More evolved behavior patterns. We have these two systems called the behavior inhibition system and the activation system. The inhibition system, very simply, is that which regulates sensitivity to punishment, and this is what really starts conditioning us for fear and inhibitions. So that's why you have one bad experience with water, and then you don't want to go back into water again, right? So this is our conditioned learning. This is where the conditioning comes in. And then the activation system means what drives us. We always ask the question, those of us who have kids in this room, the question always comes up, how can I motivate my child? How can I to get something, right? So these are all circuits, and these are all learned behaviors. So if someone is motivated by getting a reward or an award, So then they'll start working towards it. So these are learned behaviors. Let's go to the next one. This is one of the most important slides of my presentation. See, so as long as we're in any of these conditioned behavior patterns, there is always stress, okay? Going beyond conditioning. So I'm sure all of you have heard the story of the elephant, how they're trained. When they're young, they have a little rod or a stick attached to their leg that creates the sense of heaviness, and so that stops them from going away. Now they grow big, yet the same weight, same size twig can stop them. You tie it to their leg, they think they can't move, and they stay put. So even though the conditions have gone, we've left behind the conditions behind us, going back to the example of the water, right? You had a bad experience once, doesn't mean you're going to have a bad experience every single time. So that one experience is done and gone, yet the fear lingers. Same thing with the elephant. You know, it's been trained, it's not much bigger. It can move that log and keep moving, but it gets stuck. That is where each one of us, honestly, are in terms of what is holding us back. You know, as Jyotiji has mentioned, what is holding us, the women, back? It is our conditioning. You know, the entire society telling us, you got to be this way, if you step up, you know, all those things that she mentioned about if you're doing something which is non-traditional, there's that much more that we have to face outside. It's all the conditioning. So going beyond conditioning is really the definition of liberation of moksha. Now here, I put this book up, and those of you who are readers, I recommend this book very highly. It's called My Stroke of Insight, and it's written by this lady, Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a neuroscientist from Harvard, 37-year-old actually, when she has a hemorrhagic stroke. So she has bleeding on the left hemisphere. As you all know, the left side of the brain is responsible for all the executive functions. So she loses all of that, and actually it takes her 8 years to regain. She has to start from scratch, learn how to read, write, everything back, and then she writes this book with the help of a writer. But the reason I put it up there is it's one of the natural experiments of nature to tell us what a meditative experience is like. When the left side is wiped out, she's living in her right brain experience, and that's pure meditative state. She never uses that word anywhere in that book. I'm not even sure if she knows what meditation is. Since I am very much interested in meditation and I've experienced what meditation is, I said, wow, this is such a freak nature of experiment of nature that she has completely lost. See, in meditation, all we're trying to do is get out of this left hemisphere, which is left side of the brain, which is putting all this conditioning on us, and get into that expansive state where we're connecting with the universal energy. And so this happens naturally to her, right? So that's the reason I put it up there. And again, I want to emphasize, this is not a goal that's out there at some point in life. When I reach 60, I'll gain this state. It's a moment to moment. So when in this moment, if we are unhindered by this conditioning, then we're liberated in this moment. And then it needs to repeat again the next moment and the next moment. So the path is long, but the goal is in every moment. So that's a quote by my spiritual mentor, Sri Ravi Shankar. So we'll go on to the next one.